Hello everybody, it's Howard the Teaser King. I apologize for the glare in my glasses, but I don't know where to put my light to get it out of my glasses. I'll play around with that. Anyway, I just can't not do a football video. It's in my blood. So anyway, I'm excited about handicapping baseball, getting it out there. But let's talk football. What I've been doing for college, I've watched from on YouTube, it's great. I've watched the 1968 through 1978 Rose Bowl games. I've watched my USC team beating Notre Dame with Anthony Davis. I've watched my Michigan-Ohio State games from 1968 to 1978 roughly. I got more to watch, but I'm trying to gain knowledge that'll help us handicap and predict in college a little bit more. And what I saw, it all is the same, and I don't know why they're changing. You had 100,000 people at the Rose Bowl in 1968. It was a beautiful game. You had absolutely no stoppages for instant replay. The refs must have pulled the chains out 20 times to measure, and I watched the game, and the referees nailed where the guy was every time. And there was maybe one play in the game where you're like, was that really, did the ref blow it or not? There was none of these stupid timeouts that last for 5 minutes. It was a pleasure to watch these games. You get the atmosphere, and these were great. USC had O.J. Simpson and Ohio State. Oh my God, there's one game they got Jim Otis and John Brockington as their running backs, and Jack Tatum in the secondary. I mean, I was in heaven. It was like, oh my God, this is incredible football. What a matchup. And actually, Ohio State beat them in OJ's last game in the 69 Rose Bowl after the 68 season. And how did they do it? Their defense was quick. Tatum was quick. He was actually a running back in Pennsylvania, and they recruited him, put him at safety. And you know the rest of the story. But it all was defense. It was stopping the run. It was a balanced offense, and yes, Ohio State with Rex Kern had a balanced offense. USC a few years later had Pat Hayden. They had Lynn Swann and Anthony Davis. I mean, what a unbelievable set. And Ricky Bell was the fullback. And so you could see the balance there. You had a good quarterback in Hayden. You have got Lynn Swann as a wide receiver, and you got Anthony Davis and Ricky Bell as your running back. You're playing defense. Who do you stop? And Ohio State couldn't stop them. That was the game USC put up 42 I think it was the 72 Rose Bowl. But as you're watching these, the teams that could pass, but it wasn't 50 passes. It was a balanced offense. That has not changed. That's what you need today. That's what you needed in 1968 and 69 and 70. Jim Plunkett, he beat Ohio State because he could throw the ball. And you just watch these, and Michigan, they would lose because they couldn't throw the ball. I mean, Rick Leach was the worst quarterback I ever saw. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn throwing the ball. This is why Michigan lost, because they could run the ball, but as soon as they played a good team that could stop the run, that was it. Then all of a sudden, you're looking at, okay, you got to pass. No, Michigan lost to Ohio State 3 times in 4 years in the early 70s because they couldn't throw the freaking ball. They went for it on 4th and 1 twice, and they ran into an 11-man line, and geez, they didn't score, and they lost 2 or 3 games that way. Instead of a play-action pass, which Oakland was doing with Dave Casper in pro football, which in the mid-70s. So it was just very much that you've got to be able to throw the ball. And when USC had Hayden and J.K. McKay, and John McKay was the coach, and Lynn Swann, and all these, and the good running attacks, Once you have balance, you cannot be stopped because the defense can only cover so many people. And no matter how good the defense, but a really good defense, I mean, those are very good games. And you could just see why the teams won and lost. And I wanted to get that feel in college again because college is just getting all over the place. In the pros, you really don't have too much balance. They're getting away from running the ball, which is a huge mistake. What I'm noticing with New England is they're San Francisco. Basically, this is the 81 49ers has been New England for the last 12, 15 years with Tom Brady. It's short passes. I mean, he did a little bit longer passes with Randy Moss, but it's basically a short passing game. Basically, Joe Montana going back 5 yards, throwing a quick pass, getting rid of the ball quickly. That's basically their running game. And I know they got LeGarrette Blount, but still, when you throw a 3-yard pass on a crossing pattern, it's a running play. I know you're throwing the ball, but in theory, you're trying to gain 5 yards, and that's what New England does. So they're copying the 49ers script to the T in the 80s with Joe Montana. And watching the 70s Steelers was just deep. And they'd run the ball. I was watching a Steeler-Oakland game in the early 70s. God, I love YouTube. And it was just like, it was no passing. It was like, run to Harris, run to Blyer, run to Harris, run to Blyer. Oakland would throw the ball a little bit more, but against that Steeler defense, there was nothing they could do. And, it was like, I think Pittsburgh threw 10 passes in the game. It was one of those playoff games against Oakland, and they just ran it down their throats and couldn't stop them. But there's really nothing has changed in football. That's what still works. If you got, look at Seattle the last few years, running the ball down their throats. Denver, how did they win? Great defense. They put pressure on the quarterback, and they ran the ball down, New England's throat, and then Seattle's throat in the Super Bowl. No, against Carolina. They ran it down Carolina's throat. Seattle ran it down Denver's throat. The running has not gone away. I know the rule changes are a little different, but there has never been a passing team who was a pure passing team. A Dan Fouts. I don't count Joe Montana as a pure passing team because his was like a running game. Tom Brady's is like a running game. They're throwing these short passes. So I look at them more as a running team. I'm talking about a Dan Fouts. I'm talking about Dan Marino. Now you got several teams who throw the ball, but they can't win because the problem with throwing the ball, first of all, you're not two-dimensional. You don't run and pass. And the second thing is you're not resting your defense. So if you do throw it and you get 5 plays, 70 yards, you had the ball for a minute and a half, guess what? Your defense is winded. They have no time to rest. They go out there and they, get beat. Look at the Super Bowl. Atlanta's defense is wore out. And that's what happens. But if you can run the ball and you have a good defense, now you're running the ball, you're passing. The defense doesn't know what you're doing. You're now running 7, 8-minute drives, 10, 12, 14 plays. That's how you win in football. So I laugh when nobody wants to draft a running back. Fournette, this guy should be the first pick, and they should run with him. This is what makes it still works. Seattle just won a championship with it. New England basically with the Montana model championship, short passes. Denver, defense and running. They had no quarterback. You have to be able to run the ball. That's what wins in football. College, pro, whatever you want to say. So those are the teams you target. So when you're looking at the draft, these teams that just draft receivers in the first round or draft offensive linemen, you don't need good offensive linemen. Seattle has a lot of free agent offensive linemen. The key's getting the running back and the quarterback who can throw it well enough. So there's balance. If you have balance, you win. Period. So what does TEASERKING do with college is I'm just focusing more on the balanced teams and the teams with the defense. It's tough when you get the Western Kentuckys and the South Floridas who can't stop the wind, and they score in 2 minutes. It's just, I mean, that's really what's happening in college. I mean, not only are the guys, Winston's graduating in 2 years, but it doesn't seem like they know how to handle the quarterbacks. I think these offensive coordinators are horrible. You got a guy coming out of Texas Tech, or he's coming out of Baylor, and you can't make him a good quarterback when a guy lights up for, 50 touchdown passes and, 5,000 yards, and you're telling me this guy can't. You're telling me Bryce Petty can't play quarterback for the New York Jets. And I say there's a problem with the defensive coordinator, or the offensive coordinator. What is he doing? Why is it that complicated that the kid, and it's not, you're not just throwing the ball at Baylor. I mean, you got to hit the guy who's open. It's not just that. You're reading a defense. So I just don't get how that, it doesn't make sense to me. But they're out tricking themselves, or they're making it way too difficult. I don't know what it is, but these offensive coordinators, I mean, they only have 12, 13 good quarterbacks in the league. Brady's going soon. Manning just left. Eli's getting old. Rivers is getting older. And I don't see a whole lot of talent coming in. Or the talent I see isn't being played. Bryce Petty's not playing. He should be playing. The kid out of West Kentucky, Dougherty, should be. Excuse me. Dougherty should be playing. I mean, how can you not get these guys in the game? It makes no sense. And then the guys, Ryan Fitzpatrick's terrible. He couldn't even play in college. I mean, half these guys stink in college. And that's my other problem is, here they have these scouting combines and these NFL pro days at these colleges. Watch the games. Watch the games. Watch the games. And if the guy he's a winner in college, he's going to be a winner in the pros. If he's not a winner in college, he's not going to all of a sudden be a winner in the pro. He can't handle the stress. So I don't care what his arm looks like or what he looks like on pro day or how fast he is. If the guy can't play in college, he can't play in the pros. Saying that, I think the best quarterback will be Chad Kelly of Ole Miss. Why? Because he beat Alabama twice. Not only the first time, but then on the revenge, when Alabama's got fire in their eyes, he beats them then. And after double revenge, he almost beats them this year. He puts up another 40 on them. And if that guy can do that to Alabama, he's a good quarterback. You should draft him. I think Deshaun Watson of Clemson, good quarterback. You should probably be drafting him, but you should be smart enough. AKA, one of the best coaches was Don Shula. Why? Because the year before he had Marino, he had David Woodley, and they were running the ball, and very small, short passes. It was a running team. Look how he won the Super Bowl with Zonka, Kick, Morris, Greasy throwing 10 passes a game. All of a sudden, here comes Marino, and he starts passing the ball because he had the quarterback. And that's my point here. You got these guys. You got Deshaun Watson. You got to change your offense that is going to make him successful, which is going to make your team successful. Chad Kelly. These kids out of Baylor and Tech and Oklahoma who throw the ball all over the place. These kids out of the Pac-10 or Pac-12 now. They can throw it, but you can't have this NFL offense that you scored 15 points a game and then you go, well, I can't find a quarterback, and your offense is so mediocre that it doesn't matter. I mean, you've got to change to what is working, and I find the NFL is very boring. It's just throw the ball, and then the pressure comes, and they don't know how to run the ball, and then they blame the offensive line. Their defense gets tired, So you're drafting a bunch of guys that aren't winners is the problem. And it's not hard to find a winner. Chad Kelly, winner. Deshaun Watson, Clemson, winner. You can go there, but don't try to make the LSU quarterback who sucks a quarterback. But don't take a kid out of, these colleges where they're not, like Ohio State, they draft Caldwell Jones a couple, like last year, and he played in 3 or 4 games. Yeah, he won the title. But that was it. And then the next year he played 5 or 6 games. He was terrible. They had to pull him. This year Barrett's terrible. I wouldn't draft Barrett as a quarterback. Connor Cook, who's a winner, doesn't even get drafted. I mean, he gets drafted in the 4th round. I mean, that's the point they're missing. The guy who's the winner, who wins the games, is a winner, and that's who you want to draft. So it's just very frustrating watching because that's always been the case. I mean, Brett Favre was a winner in college, and Pat Hayden in the Rose Bowl. I mean, it's the guys that win the big games are the ones that they're winners. Don't say they can't do it. You have to adjust your offense. Dan Marino, I don't think they won a title, but anyway, that team was really good. But he was a good quarterback. But Montana was a winner. A lot of come from behind wins for Notre Dame. So it's not obvious if you see them in college and you see that they win the game at the end. They're probably good quarterbacks, and you need to adjust your offense to match the quarterback. Anyway, I just love talking football, so that's what I'm picking back up is these old Rose Bowls, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC games in the 60s and 70s. Same thing. It's the same football, only less commercials and no instant replay. Instant replay is absolutely ridiculous. We want to get the call right. Watching those games, they got 99 out of 100 calls correct. Even the measurements were correct. And just let them ref. And that's all you got to do. I mean, you don't need to replay. And then, oh, wait, he missed by 6. And then when they mark it and they missed the mark by a yard, what is that? You're not getting it right there. They're not marking it. There's no change. They're trying to have our 25-minute of commercials in a half hour. We need to not measure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Anyway, I'll be analyzing the draft soon. Just going through. I mean, the top players, are just, we all know them. Deshaun Jackson, Chad Kelly. I don't know how good the kid from Texas Tech is going to be, but he's a really good one. I hate the teams that draft these offensive linemen in the first round. It's a waste of time. If you're going to draft a defensive player, it should be a linebacker, it should be somebody in the secondary, or it should be a defensive end. You do not draft defensive tackles in the first round. It's a waste of a pick. So anyway, that's football. I highly advise watching these old games. If anything, I'm in my 50s, so if you're a little bit, even if you're younger and you're in your 20s, to watch those games, it's just, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame. There's some good USC, UCLA games in the 60s and the 70s. And the other thing you notice, it's the coach. All of a sudden, Dick Vermeil's at UCLA, they're winning Rose Bowls. John McKay's at USC, Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler, Ira Parseghian. And then as soon as the coach leaves, all of a sudden the team is nowhere to be seen. Woody's gone. Where's Ohio State? Bo's gone. Michigan falls a little bit. And so you got to really watch the coaching. That's really what makes any team. Lombardi's there. They win everything. He leaves. They don't win for 20 years. It's just, that's it. It's all about the coach. And you get a good coach, that's who you bet. But you got to watch, the line gets adjusted. But generally, that's what you're betting. So anyway, looking forward to football when it comes. Have a great spring. I'll come out with some draft ones, and we'll analyze it like we did last year. But, just try not to pay too much attention to these mock drafts. They're basically, who knows. They bring up these linemen. You can't judge a lineman at all. It's just, take a kid from Notre Dame in the 8th round. He's a guard, and he'll be just as good as the kid you took in the 2nd round out of Nebraska, who's a guard. You don't go to Notre Dame without talent, or Nebraska, or USC, or any of these big schools, Oklahoma, Florida State. So it's just, there you go. All right, everybody. Nice to talk football again. Please comment www.teaserking.com. Again, baseball's starting up, so I'm excited about that. And my last year pro record was like, I want to say about 159. Oh wait, I think I got it. Ah yes, 172 and 42, 81%. Not bad for 1 year of pros. 172 and 42. That's unbelievable. I don't really believe that. That's, I think, about the highest I've done. I normally average about 75%. I had 1 year I started 35 and 0, and I don't recall what happened with that. It was like 2003. Anyway, good luck to you. Enjoy whatever, the baskets, the hockey, the baseball, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great night.